This isn't just another video explainer for the trust requirements for drone users in the US. That isn't what this video is about. This video does, however, impact drone flyers in the UK, the US, and frankly beyond. So stay tuned. With the implementation of trust, the US now joins the UK in having a basic test required for drone flyers. There is a direction this step takes both the drone flying nations towards in an overall way, which every drone flyer needs to know. That's coming up today on Geeksvana. Hey everyone, my name is Sean and welcome to Geeksvana. Here you will find content focused on drones and tech. Hopefully, sometimes like this video, coming at things from a slightly different angle. For more content like this, as well as breaking news and some fun live streams, subscribe. We're a small channel and enjoy growing with every new viewer and subscriber. The FAA has now implemented a requirement for all hobbyist drone flyers to take a basic test to demonstrate they have a knowledge of the rules required to fly under the exception for recreational flyers. The Recreational UAS Safety Test, or TRUST, can be taken through one of the FAA approved test administrators, which are listed on the FAA link in the description below. Now, as I mentioned, this video isn't a walkthrough or a guide to TRUST. We have a wider topic to address. For a more in-depth view of trust, there is a link in the description to a video by Ken Dono of Original Dobo, talking to Pilots Institute, who are one of the approved administrators. It's a great video and I recommend you go watch it for that type of viewpoint. My video today has a wider view on what these types of steps from the global air regulators means for the future of the drone hobby and drone industry as a whole. Like the UK drone registration scheme, Trust has been coming for a while and is part of a wider effort to effectively control an increasingly busy and coveted lower airspace, namely the sub 400 foot. You have to congratulate the FAA for coming up with a better acronym than the UK with their DMARES, Drone and Model Aircraft Registration and Education Scheme. Nice work on that front at least. For context, I want to talk first about the similarities in the UK and US hobby tests, and this will give some wider understanding of the points I want to make. Both tests are essentially designed to ensure you have a basic level of knowledge before you fly your drone. There are some differences too, such as the UK CAA providing the test directly and not via a third-party company like the FAA have chosen to do. One practical difference in this approach to me, having passed both the US and UK tests, is that the US version to me is more of a training course feel. However, both the UK and US hobby tests provide all the information you need to pass within the websites themselves. So the skill factor is really more about retention of information rather than any form of assumed skill behind the sticks. Both focus on the education of hobbyists to ensure a safe flight. So onto my reason for this video and the wider context of the hobby drone flyer tests in the UK and US. Firstly, I feel the reason it is made to be so basic and essentially more difficult to fail than pass is legal responsibility. Once you pass the test and are assigned a number and a certificate, you have signed to state you understand the rules and your responsibilities under them. In a simple move, the CAA and FAA now have a legal confirmation to prove that you as a hobby flyer knew the rules before you took each flight. As regular viewers will know, I'm a firm supporter of reasonable drone rules, but I also feel we should be aware of what is behind them. Now, ignorance has never been a defence, and I'm not claiming that these tests were put into place just to make it easier to prosecute, but I would expect prosecutions to rise. The larger reason, in my opinion, for a need for hobby flyers to admit legal responsibility is what I call the road to UTM. Different regulators and companies around the world use slightly different words, but UTM is basically Unified Traffic Management, or UAS Traffic Management. Essentially, what this will do is bring together everything from manned aviation to hobby flyers and the wider commercial drone flights we should all expect to be commonplace within the next few years. This means beyond visual line of sight inspection drones, we'll be able to see manned aviation, and hobby flyers will be able to see EMS drones and helicopters, and everyone can react to each other in hopefully a simple and possibly even automated way. Now, in both the UK and the US, there is a while to go down the road of UTM implementation, and discussions and meetings are happening now to decide important parts of the system. I would argue that this wider discussion on UTM and the overall future of the lower airspace is far more important than any part of the building blocks of the hobby tests and remote ID. One essential element of UTM and the future development of the sub 400 airspace is insurance. It would be a pretty high premium for a drone delivery business who intends to fly beyond visual line of sight automated drones within the same airspace as hobby flyers who have no legal confirmation of their responsibilities or knowing the basic level of knowledge that is required to be behind the sticks. The Trust and DMARES system essentially provides some comfort to insurance companies and therefore makes more commercial flights profitably possible. So these hobby tests are an important step towards UTM, and coming up on Geeksvana we will be having more videos and special live shows looking at UTM and what it means to the hobby in general. I am by no means automatically against UTM as a principle, but I feel strongly we need to know more about where we are heading and the motivations of those making the decisions which will impact us all. The shows will look at the positives and potential negatives and give the straightforward information you are hopefully used to getting here on Geeksvana. The scary part of UTM and the concern to me is that there are a lot of meetings taking place where the voices of those looking to monetize lower airspace are being put forward. Companies like Wing and UPS sit on committees and panels discussing UTM at every level. You should of course expect this, and in of itself is not an issue. Those looking to increase economy through more drone flights and benefit from things like medical flights should be part of the central discussions, of course. There is little point in just bureaucrats forming a UTM and then finding out it isn't commercially viable. However, there needs to be more of a voice of the hobby and smaller size commercial drone businesses. I've been watching a lot of webinars and meetings on UTM and researching heavily in terms of the concepts being put forward, held by everyone from private companies to the regulators. There are some very different views out there which could have significant impact on the drone and RC hobby. Everything from automation of response to traffic to pay per flight is being discussed. Overall, I remain cautiously optimistic about the hobby's place in a UTM future, but we must ensure our voices are still heard and understood. Timing is also vital, as often community reaction to announcements such as remote ID are frankly too late and will only have a limited impact. As a couple of examples, the recent FAA Drone Advisory Committee meeting, which was streamed on YouTube, there was a lot of discussion regarding manned aviation response to UTM and the feedback from the flight deck. These views are of course vital. Manned aviation by its very title is of course looking to safeguard lives, especially considering sharing parts of airspace with larger delivery drones flown autonomously. However, we need to see the hobby engaged along with smaller commercial drone businesses in a similar way. There are brighter spots. One of the FAA DAC working groups really went to great efforts to represent the hobby in their concept work and presented some strong ideas for keeping the skies as open as possible whilst achieving the monetization of the lower airspace. Of course, another part of regulation required to make UTM work is of course remote ID. I agree wholeheartedly with a hobby with improved education, and I feel passionately that you should have some good basic knowledge before you fly a drone. However, it is vital as we reach key milestones that we have our eyes open in terms of where all this is heading and the potential bumps in the road. So keep an eye out for webinars and regulator public meetings, which are often online, and try to engage and discuss. That way our voices cannot be ignored and the next stage of regulation will not be a surprise or challenged too little too late, frankly. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and look out for more content on Geeksvana related to UTM. Thanks for watching. See you next time.